Yay. Hello, everyone. Welcome to Helen's Virtual Desk Connection Corner. I'm Helen here, and we have the amazing Jordan Jones here with us and Evonne Barrier. And I just wanted to bring these lovely ladies together today to talk about the virtual assistant industry and just how we all are navigating the industry, how we are helping our clients, helping them grow their business and delegate tasks, and just how maybe even you, if you're interested in getting into the industry or just interested in working with a virtual assistant, what does that look like? How do you get your feet wet into doing that? So yeah, we're just gonna dive right in. So we're going to start off with some introductions. I'll go ahead and introduce myself, and then I will allow these ladies to introduce themselves and how they got into the virtual assistant industry. So I'm Helen Palmer. I went to school for public relations and journalism, and then I ended up, upon graduation, like freelancing, just doing a bunch of freelance work for a while. And then come, it was like end of 2019, I was really feeling the burnout of just freelancing, full-time job, part-time job, just go, 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 go. I think we all were very a little burnt out in 2019. So
Real.
that's when I got uh, kind of engaged with Evonne, and she helped me. She like just introduced me to the world of virtual assistant. So I signed up to be a virtual assistant with her. Um, and yeah, she kind of changed my life in that regard. She gave me an opportunity. Literally, I started February 2019. And then, as you know, March, or not 2019, 2020, February 2020. And as you know, March 2020, the world literally changed. So it was like, I kind of like I was a little psychic. Like I just knew virtual assistant was going to be the industry where it just kind of helped me put into like I idealize a business out of my freelance work. It just helped me put two and two together. So, anyways, long story short, started working with Evonne as a virtual assistant, and that kind of helped me put my marketing and my virtual assistant stuff together and started my business in July 2020 with the help of Oaks Creative House, who hopefully Evonne will talk about more later. I know said she's having some internet issues, which we, it wouldn't be an online discussion if you didn't have some internet issues.
We know.
So we will totally be patient with her on that. So yeah, that's just a little bit about me. Like I said, I've been in business since 2020. And so I'm 4 years rocking. And now I actually get the pleasure of working with Jordan. She's been helping me as I grow my business and scale. And she's been an awesome help with me. And so yeah, that's just a little introduction of me and my how I got started in the virtual assistant industry. So I'm gonna pass the mic to Evonne. So, Evonne, tell us a little bit about yourself and what inspired you to pursue a career as a virtual assistant.
Sure. Thanks, Helen. Sorry about the connectivity issues. We moved out to a farm to farm set, and the internet's just a little unstable. We're on a booster right now. So if it gets a little unstable, I'll just turn my video off. Most of the time that fixes the problem. But I think it just like jumped connection. So
We get it.
I started in 2018. It really was a drive to just find something that worked well for me. I worked in restaurants for 10 years, and I had managed a local restaurant in my hometown for about 5 years and did a lot of their hiring and processes, built their training manual, all that kind of stuff. And just really quickly got, not quickly, I mean, over 10 years, right? Got kind of burnt out in the restaurant industry and decided like, okay, I need to do something more. This is not my dream to work in a restaurant. So I really like jumped industries and just kind of did a bunch of things. I sold insurance for a while. I sold health products for a while. I cleaned houses. Like I kind of just did whatever I could to make it work. And I stumbled across a virtual assistant agency on a podcast and was like, huh, that sounds really interesting. So let me look into it. And so I applied at an agency and I actually got accepted and got my first through an agency. And then just kind of really quickly figured out that this was something that worked really well for me and put a lot of my skill sets to use. And just kind of fell in love with it. Fell in love with working from home, fell in love with like supporting business owners. And so that's like, I guess how I got started. It really was more of just like this almost desperate search for fit in the world and like where I fit in the business space. You know, what was going to be my next step? What was going to be like that corporate career, that thing I did, which I always thought like, you know, I went to college, I went to school to be um a a, uh, a physical therapist actually. So it and then I did nothing with my degree clearly. So, you know, it was one of those things where it's like, what do I do? And it was just it felt like this desperate search for a while. And then eventually I just kind of stumbled across the industry and it just fit really well. And I found myself working with like some amazing clients that, you know, believed in me and gave me opportunities. And then I just kind of blossomed from there.
Yes, blossomed you have. Go girl. So Jordan, can you share a bit about your journey and how you got started in the virtual assistant industry?
Yes, so I am fairly new. I've been in business for about 2 years. I started at the end of 2022. So, honestly, if I'm being real with y'all, like I saw this girl on TikTok talking about virtual assistants, and I was just like, "What is this?" And obviously, they're gonna give you like the glamorized, "Oh, you can be making this much money in a month. Let me show you how." So it intrigued me, but I didn't fully like understand all of it. But that was like the first time that I heard about it.
Mhm.
But prior to doing this, I worked at an office. So it was like a typical 9 to 5. And, you know, I kind of was in a cycle like with Helen. I got burnt out. I felt kind of just creatively just stretched. I didn't feel like I could grow in the way I wanted. And kind of like Evonne was saying, like I had so many things that I had done before that. So it was just kind of like finding my fit and finding what I actually really like to do. And it was like
Mhm.
nothing was fitting for me. And so um coming into this industry, it was like I could do so many things and like actually like put energy and time into the things that I can be creative with and I can actually like kind of just like make what I want, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
And it just ended up like working and overlapping perfectly. Like as soon as I left my job, like there was doors opening. So it just felt like it was the right thing to do at the time. And I haven't turned back. Like I have fully enjoyed just doing this and getting to work with all the different business owners. And yeah, it's just been so fun and I love it. It's the
Yeah.
best thing I could have done at that point. So that's kind of how I got started.
Yes. And that is one thing that I think the three of us have in common too, is that we all have worked in different industries or serving different types of people doing like different things for years before we even got into this industry. And because of our multifaceted skill set, this virtual assistant industry kind of allowed us to, you know, take bits and pieces of what we can do and what we're good at and create our own thing with it. And that's why I really love it. And which leads us into the next set of questions. This one is going to be for Evonne. What do you consider to be your unique strengths or skills as a virtual assistant?
Mm. So that was something I really struggled with for a while. Like when I started, I was like, you know, like you hear all the podcasters and business people talking about like lean into your unique skill set or like your unicorn factor or whatever. Like people say it in so many different ways. And it took me a while to figure out what that was. And for me, it's systems and processes. So my brain works in like this systematic like multi-steps way that I'm able to take what might seem like a big complicated process and break it down into step by step by step by step by step, as many as needed. And that is something I've realized through interviewing and talking to like so many VAs over the years. That is not something everybody has. That is not something that everyone can do or that everyone enjoys doing, is like, you know, just creating processes or systems from scratch. And that is something I love. To me, it feels like putting puzzle pieces in place and like creating this like beautiful picture from something that was like a jumbled mess in the very beginning. Like a jigsaw puzzle is like a great kind of example of how that feels in my mind, which is kind of like weird to say, but that's like, that's what makes sense to me. And so for me, that's something that I really was able to lean into. And I know you mentioned Oaks Creative House earlier. I just got like a part of that, but I was able to take those skills and put it to like really put them to use and like blossom them through one of my clients, Crystal Oaks with Oaks Creative House, and they're a marketing agency. And she brought me in literally just to optimize a system that she had bought and had used a little bit, but had not really been able to fully set up, essentially. Like it had all these automation features, think Dubsado Honeybook situation, right? Something like that. And it's called Tave, it's for photographers. And she just had never had the time to really set it up. And it, like that specific task really allowed me to pour in and systems and like really figure out like this is what I do and this is what I do really well. So on the virtual assistant side, that's what I do very well. On the business side, since I have a virtual assistant agency, what I do very well there is placements and like matching. So I have this skill set of being able to kind of really dig into the needs of the business owner and the virtual assistant, like that's personality, culture, all of that kind of stuff. And just kind of have this sixth sense of being able to place people with virtual assistants or with business owners in a way that optimizes skill sets and personalities and communication styles and all that kind of stuff. So, and I definitely have used the systems and processes skills there too.
Yes. No,
that
that's
has been a big thing for me.
Like not only it's a unique skill, but it's a superpower. And you and Crystal are like a superpower duo. Like y'all are like the ideal virtual assistant like client relationship. Like y'all have like really got it down. At least that's how it appears on the outside. I'm like, they know what they're doing.
Yeah, my ideal client is based on Crystal. So
no,
like,
for real.
when I describe my ideal client, it's basically describing her.
Yes, no, seriously, because y'all got it down. And Jordan, how do you differentiate yourself from other VAs in the industry?
Yeah, kind of what you were saying in the beginning, Evonne. I also struggled with figuring out what am I good at and like what can I provide that's actually valuable for business owners. I think when I started off, I was just trying to like cater to everyone, and it really just limited because if you're catering to everyone, you really can't, I guess, find the best fit, if that makes sense. So, I think for me, what really like started to shift for me was one, like, what do I enjoy doing over the most? Like, what is something that I just like at any given time, I'm like all in to do it. So if it's not email marketing, then I'm not gonna I'm not gonna offer that. So for me it was being creative and like putting together like branding and organizing the aesthetics and planning and coordinating. And so that's kind of where I started. And then I started to do research with my market, like, okay, is this something that they're actually needing? You know, that also came into part. But I think just when it comes to differentiating yourself, it's really about, and it's so cliche, but it's like what sets you apart and also like what makes you unique as a business owner, because we're all different. And I think a lot of it comes down to like, who are we at the core, and do you connect with that person? I think especially with Helen being a good example, we really hit it off like our first meeting because we're just very like-minded, similar goals, similar visions. Even though we're doing similar things, it didn't feel like we were like competing, but we were also very different and unique. So it just brought both of our superpowers together and we were both able to like find our place. So yeah, I would say definitely just being yourself and staying true to like the things that you just are passionate about doing. Truly.
Yes, yes, definitely. I agree. And sometimes it's hard to like figure out where you want to belong, Like right now I'm in the midst of simplifying or, like I want to take my clients through like a actual system and a process, that's like feels good and that actually meets their needs. So like sometimes even though you may market yourself as a virtual assistant who can do all of these things, you have to have your niche that you're good at and say like, yeah, I can do XYZ, but this is the thing that I know that I'm gonna like help you out and bring value to your business in and because I've done it before and here are the reason, the proof is in the pudding, basically.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And I want to just say to that, like, and that also can be like a category of things. You don't have to be like good at graphics. Like you could be a rock star at administrative tasks, like you could build a really mean spreadsheet. Like there's a lot of administrative skills that you could do, like rock star research. You know what? One thing I am not good at is research. Like do not give me a research project. I suck at it. So there are like that you might think are not a unique skill, but the reality is like business owners don't want to do it. So if a business owner doesn't want to do it and you really enjoy it, then that's it. That's what it is. It could be a spreadsheet. It could be just doing invoices. Like it doesn't have to be this like big crazy skill set that you think, right? It can just simply be being a rock star admin.
Yeah.
Yes.
Or
For
like
sure.
I don't mind scheduling social media content, especially if you can give me the graphic and the caption. I'll schedule all day. Like that does not bother me. I will schedule. But like you said, a lot of people they could have all the graphics and all the captions they want, but just don't have the energy to even just schedule it. And you just getting in there and doing that is like freeing up a lot of mental space for a client or just in allowing them to focus on what they do best so that they can do what they like, make the money, do the things that makes them the money in their business. So so we're going to segue now to some challenges and solutions. So Evonne, what are some common challenges your clients face and how have you helped them to overcome them?
That is definitely that's a hard question because I think everybody is pretty unique. I think really the challenge is most people are wanting to, see how I put this into words. I think a lot of people are overwhelmed and they don't know how to communicate what they need and what is overwhelming them in their business. And that is pretty universal, like the challenges within the business could be different. Somebody might need a marketing coordinator. I just talked to someone today who really I need someone that can, go into my Dubsado and look at my email templates and update them for the new event that's coming up this year. It's like, it's the same process, but things need to be, updated, dates, locations, like all that. I just need someone that can do that versus somebody that's like, look, I really need someone that can track invoices and track projects and do project management and set up my system and optimize my workflows, right? So there's this struggle to communicate what they need and to really know, like, what is that? How do I train on it? How do I onboard my clients? And how do I figure that out? And so we actually have a proprietary onboarding process that we take our clients through that really help outline some of these things. So there's a worksheet in there for them to, write down, brain dump all the tasks that are on their head, right? And then to categorize them into different categories that I lay out for them. And then to organize them into a training roadmap so that they know what to train on first, second, third, and so on. They know what would be what I would call a wish list item. So something that's like, I really want them to do it, but it's going to take time. It's going to take trust. It's going to take, real training for this to happen, so that they aren't feeling like, oh man, I really wanted them to be able to send invoices and it's 3 months in and they're not doing that. Well, now they have an understanding of why that's not happening, because that's something that requires trust. That's something that requires, longevity in a relationship, so that you feel comfortable sharing your passwords into your invoicing system, into your bank, and all of that kind of stuff. So I think helping them understand like how to train, how to bring on someone onto their team is really important in the success of the engagement. It's in the success of, lasting longer than 3 months, right? Like in really having long-term relationships. And that's what I think most of my clients are looking for, are long-term relationships. And I think a lot of VAs are looking for the same. Like, we don't necessarily want to go in and like have to learn a whole new business every couple of months. That's not ideal for most people. So I think if you can really like streamline that onboarding, come up with, some kind of process to help you gather the information from the, making notes, keeping those notes somewhere you can reference, so you're not having to ask questions over and over again, that kind of stuff. That's going to really help avoid a lot of challenges in the beginning, build trust faster. And that trust is really what I find is the linchpin of like, are they going to keep you on, or are they going to let you go? Right? If we're building trust quickly, they're much more likely to keep us on.
Yes, and I agree that onboarding process is so crucial. You have to start it off on the right foot and like setting expectations very clear, making the timeline very clear, and just communicating, asking all the right questions. So that is just essential in uncovering those specific pain points. Jordan, let's talk about some specific examples of a challenge. Oh, wait, I want to say thank you for sharing, Evonne. I have not been saying that. Now, Jordan, share a specific example of a challenge you encountered in your VA career and how you successfully resolved it.
Yes. Ooh, that's such a loaded question, because I feel like there's something all the time, which is good because I'm constantly learning.
And it builds your confidence in like problem solving,
Yes. And that's kind of where I wanted to start. I think a lot of the problems I faced started with me not being able to effectively communicate boundaries and just like asserting myself as a business owner as well in the beginning. Because when I didn't do that, I found that people were more likely to run me over or kind of just abuse their power because, oh, I'm paying you, I can do whatever you want, I can, dump all this on you. No, we clearly have stuff outlined on what I'm responsible for doing. And so I think it goes back to like having the confidence in yourself as a business owner, like from the get-go, to just effectively communicate like who I am, what I provide, and being confident in that. I think sometimes we can let people come in and intimidate us, and it's almost like they're interviewing you, but it's like, no, we're both vetting each other out to see if we're both a good fit. And I think if I had known that starting out, that would have definitely helped me avoid, just like miscommunications or just things like what Evonne was saying in the beginning, like streamlining processes, the onboarding, that whole thing. Because I mean, someone could say yes one day and then turn around and say no because something just kind of got off on the wrong foot. And so that's what really rang to my mind first. But more specific, I think, yeah, like a lot of the issues are like, they don't know really what they need. Like they know they need help, but they don't know where to plug you in or like how to even transition because they're so used to doing it all on their own. So it's a lot of just like hand holding and being like, hey, this is what I can see you need, but also like kind of almost coaching them on how to communicate that to you, if that makes sense. So that's a lot of what I've dealt with. And it's been interesting, but I think again, like you learn from every single situation, and it also helps to build your confidence.
Definitely. No, it does. You said something about dang it, I hate it when stuff just comes and then goes. Um, but you said something. Oh, that's what I was going to say. You talked about how you've been able to set boundaries. And I know you're like newer to the business, but like I admire the way that you have been able to do that, the way that you have been able to just be like, this is the scope of work, this is what we're going to do. And we're going to
Yeah,
stick to it. If I have the capacity to do more, we can do that. But like, I think that's very important, especially if you're a service provider. I think it's really important that you have, whether it's outlined in the beginning, I mean, which obviously it should be outlined in the beginning. And then sometimes you got to remind them throughout the process because they'll be like, oh, you're doing so amazing at this one thing and you're killing it. Like, surely you can add on this
hmm
extra task. And it's like, I can, but there's a process for that, like, so I think it goes back to having good systems and processes, like Evonne said, and also being able to, I think one thing that I feel like is a challenge and like that needs a solution a lot of times for these businesses is the fact that they want to grow and they want to delegate, but they don't have their processes outlined on what they do even internally to where that they can successfully turn over a task. So that is a
for
big
sure.
challenge I've noticed when I'm trying to help clients. So now this next question, thank you, Jordan, for sharing. This next question is going to be for the both of you. So this is a booming industry. I feel like it's fairly new, but it's probably been out for a while, but it's like $1 billion industry. Um, so I went to Marcon earlier this week and it talked about, breaking the mold or like breaking the mold. The market, it's like copy paste kind of like the things that you do. So like, like what emerging trends do you see in the virtual industry? And then like, how do you stay ahead of them? How do you break the mold and like do it something different in a trend, in a industry that's like, yeah, it's dynamic, but it's also kind of like copy paste. Like, like what are the
Mhm.
emerging trends you see and how do you stay ahead of them? Jordan, do you want to go first this time?
Sure. First thing that came to mind was I feel like it's super easy to just hop on every trend because that's what everyone's doing. I want to go viral. I want to catch all the buzz. But for something for me, like that I think works the best is if the trend makes sense for you, your brand, your vision, your business, great, hop on it. But don't hop on every single one if it doesn't make sense. I think I see a lot of that and I'm just like, what's going on here? So yeah, going back to just like being very clear on like your brand, your mission, your vision for your business and sticking to that. And if it aligns, great. If it doesn't, then let it go with everybody else. And then also um just I don't know, being being curious and being creative when you can. I think it's easy to, kind of just do what everyone else is doing and kind of blend in. But I feel like that it makes it worse because then you're just like everyone else when you're really going to find those clients, those potential people that would work better with you when you're like just being who you are at the core. And that's why I feel like everyone has a seat at the table. Like we all can be successful. We all can make money if we all just, embrace who we are and stay in our own lane instead of trying to be everyone else. So that would be the biggest things that I would say.
Yeah, I like that. Especially the curiosity piece, can't grow if you're not like being curious, sticking your nose where it may or may not belong,
Yeah,
So,
for sure.
Evonne, what emerging trends do you see in the virtual assistant industry and how do you stay ahead of them?
Um, so I think you have trends when it comes to like how supporting other people, like tasks, services, that kind of things. And then you have trends when it comes to tools and the technology that's out there, right? And so I think right now, like there's a huge trend when it comes to AI. Like it's just a conversation that needs to be had, right? There's AI tools for like so many things out there. And I know there have been a lot of discussions in the virtual assistant groups about being worried about AI taking jobs and taking our positions. And I just have to laugh a little bit because the reality is the business owner is not going to figure out how to use that tool. Like if they can't figure out how to use, you know, their Asana, they're not going to figure out how to use Chat GPT. Like it's just not going to happen. And the fact is AI is only as good as the person using the tool. It's a tool. That's all it is, right? So if you can't put the right prompts in, you're not going to get great results. So I always like to encourage people, like, don't be afraid of the trends when it comes to the technology that's coming out. Stay on top of it by doing research, getting in there, setting up your free account, playing around with it, starting to like pay attention a little bit to what other people are doing. Like there's literally a job right now. It's like a $200,000 a year job to like create AI prompts. Like that's a real thing for companies. So it's one of those things where, you know, you can, and I think it depends on, are you a tech VA? Then yeah, you should totally be on top of the technology. You know, are you somebody that helps set up tools? Are you setting up Dubsados and Honeybooks for people? Then yeah, you need to be on top of the technology. Are you an admin that you're literally like putting together spreadsheets and pulling data and, you know, answering emails and managing calendars? Maybe not as big of a deal to stay on top of those trends. When it comes to like service trends, I would agree with what Jordan said, and like find your niche, like we were talking about earlier with figuring out your unique skill set, where you fit, and then stick with that. Like if you think of a new service or a new product or a new package that makes sense for what you're doing and works for your goals and works for the way you want your business to be structured, then sure, go for it. But a lot of times we get distracted, squirrel, right? Like we just get, it's shiny object syndrome. Like we get distracted, and that can be confusing for our audience. And when you confuse, you lose. I follow Donald Miller a lot, and that's something he says all the time. When you confuse, you lose in your marketing. So we don't want to confuse our audience and our customers and our prospects by trying to do everything. We want to know what we do, stay in our lane, and then stay on top of like the new technology that's coming out that is relevant to what you're doing.
Yeah, for sure.
Oh, that's good stuff. Man, I'm like, find myself trying to, like I said, like I've been trying to think outside of the box, which can kind of get you into maybe even sometimes a little bit of a rut, because you're like, how do I reinvent? Like people say they don't want to reinvent the wheel, but sometimes it's like, how can I reinvent the wheel? How is there a better way to do this? Is there, you know, what tools can I use to make this, to optimize this? What can I change in the way that I'm offering my services to provide a better, more cohesive experience for my clients? You know, I think as long as you're, like Jordan said again, staying curious, asking those questions, and just always striving for like improvement and efficiency and providing value.
Yep.
And I think that that's a good way for us to just stay ahead of the trends, or just at least knowing how to utilize them to our fullest potential, which was a tip for success, which is a nice segue into our next. Jordan, what are some key strategies for effectively working with a virtual assistant, or if you choose to take on this, building a successful virtual assistant business?
Yes. Well, I mean, obviously I have firsthand experience with working with Helen, so I have lots to lend with that. Um, I honestly feel like we've hit the jackpot because we just hit it off immediately. And when I thought about kind of why we work so well together, I think it goes back to like we're just so aligned in like our visions and goals. And even though we're both very different and unique and we have, you know, you have your strengths, I have my strengths, I think when you can find someone that complements you in that way when it comes to like working with other VAs, that's really going to make you stronger as a team and enjoyable because you know what it is and what it's like to do this, and I know what it is. So finding someone that has that commonality is going to make the biggest difference, and has made it really enjoyable. Like it feels like we're just two girls hanging out when we have our calls. We're just kikiing and talking and catching up,
Yes.
and I enjoy that. Like you are my favorite client just because you understand, you respect me, and we just get each other. So it's easier, but that's not always the case. So I think just finding those commonalities and just being aligned in, you know, those areas that matter the most is going to be the most important
Yes.
strategy or key to
Yeah.
being successful.
Definitely. And like I know I'm a virtual assistant, but it's like I understand the value of having a virtual assistant, which is why I have one. You know what I'm saying? So it's like I need help too to grow I have a business too, you know, and I need help as well. So like I think just yeah, just even just knowing that it's okay to like, you know, even if you're a hairstylist, it's okay to have a hairstylist that does your hair. Maybe you don't want to do your hair, you know? I think that's fine. That should be fine. So
It is
um,
definitely.
that was probably not related to the question, but I still just felt like I wanted to say it. But Evonne, what advice would you give someone interested in becoming a virtual assistant? Because that is something unique about your business as well. You not only like have clients where you serve as their virtual assistant, but you specialize in matching other VAs with potential clients, which is like a modern day. I like to see it as like a modern day what is that? Hiring firm?
Recruiting.
Recruiting,
Mhm.
yeah. So I really love that. So speak to like the advice you might have to someone interested in becoming a virtual assistant.
Sure. So, and I was just going to say earlier, like I have multiple virtual assistants that work for me. So there is definitely value in virtual assistants having virtual assistants work for them. Like we all need support. You can't, you know, build something past yourself if you're the only one doing it, right? So, when it comes to like getting started in the industry, I typically really encourage people to think through like, what did you do in your past positions and your past jobs that you really enjoyed? Like, what were the kind of tasks and things like that that you enjoyed? And then I'll talk through that with them and try to figure out like, what category does that fall under? In my mind, there's a couple verticals like categories that virtual assistants can fall under. So you have your marketing coordinator with Jordan. It sounds like that's kind of you, where you do like graphics and content and you understand like websites and social and emails and blah, 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 right? And then you have your administrator. So that's like your like typical admin, right? We're answering emails and phones and scheduling appointments and dealing with like invoices and stuff like that. Then you have your executive assistant. And that's someone that deals with all the overflow that the business owner has. And that is very varied. There's so many things that could land on your plate in that situation. But they are very good at managing somebody else, right? They're very good at like managing someone else and dealing with overflow. A lot of times it also includes delegating to other team members and things like that. Then you have your project manager. And the project manager is going to be in a more customer facing role. They're going to be dealing with, you know, communication with customers, communication with team members, ensuring the details for projects received and are sent and timelines are being hit. A lot of times they're actually working within your system. So your CRM, your task management system, they're keeping things up to date. They're moving people through your processes. They're not creating deliverables, but they're making everything just kind of run, right? So I encourage people to think through like, what are your past positions? What were things you really enjoyed? Where do you feel like you fit in that area? And then that can help to figure out your niche, because as we've said many times today, your niche is so important. Knowing what your unique skill set is, knowing what niche you are falling into, so that you can then talk to that audience, so you can market yourself effectively, so you can start finding your clients. And then, you know, just like be flexible, be curious. I love, Jordan, how you were talking about that earlier, because I think the hallmark of a really good VA is someone that is curious and someone that is a problem solver, out of the box thinking, like they can creatively problem solve for business owners. If you have curiosity and you're able to creatively problem solve, you're going to be a great VA. Doesn't matter what your background is or experience. Like if you can do those two things, you will find your space in this industry.
Awesome. I love that. Very great advice. So again, I just want to thank you both. There's a couple more questions, but I do just want to like thank you both for being here on my very first connection corner. And I personally think that collaboration and networking is very important for just any industry that you work in. It's especially important when you have such a dynamic service that you provide to other business owners. And so, Jordan, how important do you think networking and collaboration are in the virtual assistant industry, and how do you approach building your professional relationships?
Yeah. So I'm naturally an introvert, which shocks people because they're like, you're so friendly. But it's like, I don't know what it is. It just comes out sometimes. But more than likely, I am like in my room watching Netflix to myself. So networking was really hard for me in the beginning, but I knew that that was going to be essential for this business. So I honestly had to push myself in that area. But I think um, it's very important. I think a lot of what I've been able to do in the last almost 2 years has been because of the connections I've made and the times I've gotten to talk face to people and express to them like what I do, why I love what I do, and just find those commonalities. Like I was saying earlier, that's how me and Helen connected. We were just um, talking and catching up and just talking about things that we're passionate about, and that's how we connected. So I think just being open to forming new connections, and even if it's not like a, right off the bat we just hit it off, like it's okay if it takes a little time. I just think you just have to like put yourself in situations to, push yourself and make those make it a priority to connect with other people. And Yeah, I think once I was able to like kind of switch my mindset about it, instead of being like, oh, this is so scary and just like, I don't want to do this, and started to think like, oh, I get to meet new people and learn about their businesses and learn about why they started what they do and like all the like behind the scenes, it changed it for me and I find it more fun now. And so I think it's completely vital for your business for sure.
Yes, definitely. I know since I've been in between like gigs right now, I'm like trying to meet with everybody. I'm like, do you have free time on your calendar? Do you have free time on your calendar? Let's meet. I just like, even if we just talk about things that are going on in our business, I always walk away with some piece of insight. Even if it's the same thing I've heard a million times, I still am like, oh, another person said that. That must be something that's important, you know? So I think it's very, 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 very important. And Evonne, can you share an example of a successful collaboration or partnership that has benefited your virtual assistant career?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, for me, it's all about the relationships. My whole business was built on referrals, and that was based on just years of networking before I started in the virtual assistant industry, when I was doing all the random things trying to find my space. And building relationships is really like the name of the game. In this to build a relationship with our clients. We're in this to build relationships with like the people we get to do business with. And I recently realized like community is so important to me. Even though I'm virtual, I've been working virtually since like 2016 basically. I really lean on my community and do that through networking. And so just a few examples, like I have amazing clients who just sing my praises and refer so many people. They referred so many people in their network to me, and then they refer people. So that's like, I mean, that's amazing, right? That is something that just propelled us forward and got us to where we are today, which is somewhere I never thought I would be. And then like on the virtual assistant side, like talking about just networking with other people in the industry, like I always encourage people, don't, like, there's no reason to be afraid of talking to virtual assistants or connecting, because they're, like Helen said at the very beginning, there's so much business out there. There's enough business for everybody. Like, I am completely of the abundance mindset, and that is the fact that like there are businesses being made every day, and there are businesses that are reaching the 2-year mark and the 5-year mark and so on and so forth every day, and they need help. And you just have to figure out how to talk about yourself, how to put yourself out there. So, you know, another one would be amazing referral partner. Her name's Mindy. She's in Yukon. So she's like probably about an hour and a half away from where I am. And we met in Oklahoma City, kind of in the middle of where we both are located. She's worked with a good handful of my clients over the years, and she does an amazing job. And she niched down into kind of bookkeeping services. So she does controller work and bookkeeping work now, which is not where she started, but that's where she's at now. And we refer business to each other all the time. I'm sending people to her, she's sending people to me, and we're able to support each other that way, because I don't do that, you know, and she doesn't do admin stuff. So there's no reason to hesitate to connect with other people, because like Jordan said earlier, we're all different. We all have our own unique things. So we can support each other. We can bring skills that other people that, you know, they don't have to the table. And you never know what kind of beautiful partnerships might come out of it. You know, Mindy's worked with some of my clients for years, and it's an amazing thing because she's supporting them, and so she's supporting me, and I'm always so grateful to be able to refer people to her. So it's just one of those things where, yes, it's virtual, but this is a people-centric business, right? This is about the people. And so having that community, like that's my number one tip. I see in the virtual assistant groups all the time. How do you guys find business? How do I find my first client? That's like one of the biggest questions. And my number one tip is go out into your local community and start telling people at networking events what you're doing. Start networking with people, follow up, set appointments, follow up with them, stay in touch with them, and you'll be really surprised how quickly you'll start landing your clients.
Yes. Amen to that. Like, because especially if you're like you said, nurturing those relationships, you can't just meet somebody, exchange a business card, never follow up with them and just think like, oh, I networked. Like, no, you did not.
No.
Nurture that relationship. You did not. And then, you know, a lot of times you have to like scratch their back a little, and then they'll come scratch your back, and then next thing you know, you've got a little synergy going on. But like in an ideal world, I could like send all my clients to Evonne, and then Evonne will get their systems and processes in order, and then me and Jordan will come mark, you know, create a strategy for their business or whatever. You go to Crystal for your website, and then come back to me, we'll do your social media, and then, you know what I'm saying? Like there's just like network. I just love having a network and an ecosystem of people where it's like, I have a person for that, actually. Let me call them, and I know they're going to take good care of you. And because once you build a strong network, that puts more trust in the client, trust in you. And then now you've really got a client for life, because it's like, not only are you amazing, but you refer me to amazing people, and everybody's just supporting everybody, and the dollar is staying within your little community, you know, so which is
absolutely
a goal for sure. So I think that's basically the end. That's all the questions I have. You ladies have been so amazing. Like, I have learned so much. My key takeaways: find your unique skill set, and focus on that. So perfect that skill, get a good systems and process for that skill. And then wait, I had another takeaway. Definitely nurture those relationships. That's one of the last takeaways that I've took away from this conversation. Oh, and be curious. Always be curious. Ask a bunch of questions, whether you're onboarding your client, offboarding them. I know I've been learning the offboarding is very important as well. And then just in order to stay on top of trends and stuff, you got to ask questions and stay curious. And then utilize these tools and these trends to your benefit. So those are some of my key takeaways. Do you guys have any key takeaways from the evening before we wrap up?
Oh gosh. All of it was so good. I'm always wanting to learn. So thank you, Evonne, for just lending all of your knowledge because I loved it. I ate it up. Um, I think the biggest thing I learned um was I guess just what you were saying earlier about just being able to like identify um for help people identify what they need and then how do you plug yourself in. Like I loved hearing about how you guys created a service just for like helping people to create their own onboarding process. Like that to me helps me to like, okay, this is something that I can get curious about and start asking my clients, what are things that you're needing and how can I create services to best help you. So
Mm-hmm.
that really was something that I was like, oh, like I'm gonna think more about this. So that was great.
Mm-hmm. Love that.
Love it. Yeah, Helen, I agree with all your takeaways. I think it was a great conversation, and I just love the reminder to like be curious, because I think that like, and also Jordan, I loved your energy of like just being so like happy and excited about the work you're doing and how you love the like. I remember, not that I, don't get me wrong, not that I don't love what I do. Like I love what I do. I have multiple businesses now. This brought me into like an amazing space of being a serial entrepreneur and opening businesses, not just in the virtual space, but physical businesses and all kinds of other things. And I think that, you know, curiosity is really where it started. And so it's like such a great reminder, like back to the roots and that excitement that I remember feeling like at the very beginning, and just like it felt, everything felt so right. So
Yeah.
thank you, ladies, for bringing that back.
Yes. Okay. Before I let you go, we're gonna snap a picture on my phone. So
Okay.
1, 2, 3, cheese. Okay, perfect. All right. Thank you so much. And hopefully you guys will join us at the next Connection Corner. So stay tuned.
Bye.